So the book's called The Penance. It's called The Penance because there's a number of poems in the book that kind of riff off that word as a title. So this is the first poem in the book. I'm going to make sure that I don't go over because that would be boring. Penitentiary. Here is the fragile useless. Horses, fingers along the underbelly of her wrist, the thrust of her hip as she walks, sand dunes, an irritating pearl in boot, xylophonic ribs, and a chest that can hold water. Young men who've forgotten their pour in the morning, monsters, politicos, the porpoise of a woman near orgasm, and yes, cuticles, clavicles, viscera of all sorts. The St. Christopher's medal worn in prison, and landmines, and stamens, and blood on the eyeglasses photographed on cobbles, the hollow of her inner thigh, the shadows of her eyelashes, the dead, everywhere here. Tattooed teardrops or cherry blossoms, needles, pray for us, how kissing either works or doesn't. And yes, how we may all become orphans tonight. How we will never know if it would have turned out differently had we done it differently. The hard vowels of disease and autumn and cement and hands and fire ants and orange and pray for us. So I did all these fancy little post-it things which was supposed to help me get the order of this. And I have no idea what my system was. So, okay. Penitentiary. I dread sunflowers and brown cold legs of summer. Thirst after hushes and hands held over lips. I dread sun-drenched beaches. I want angry letters, pistols, and 2x4s. I know fists clench in pockets. I know there are always people schemes. I desire nothing less than to be happy with the simple happiness provided because I'm a lover of failure. Icarus would be forgotten if he hadn't fallen. Nobody would worship sun without the world's winter half, and I want to wake without you. From dreams of sick children and their sour water, I want to be right that it can all be taken, even in daylight. To wake without you, for I dread your affection, which crashes in my ears, but ominous as a cry cut short, its laugh would be louder still. I kind of want to pick a moment in a poem to have everybody open their PBR at once. And then the last one in that little series of penitence poems. This one's called Penitent. Long ago my knuckles mended, and I forgot how to want to clash again. I was once hip-shot and erratic, but now I'm glass, the slicked leavings of birth. Oils from hands mar me no more than a smudge. I'll not melt for 1,000 years, I'll not shatter, but for fire or force. I've realized that there's no glory in pliancy, no succor in softness of clay or breast, for to be supple is to wait for bruises to rise. And I forgot how to want to fight, but tyrants are walking around so heavily. All I wanted was to be in your blood and be quiet. But soldiers dare me to hazard out in the world with my prison face, the one that shifts with the shadows, contorts, lacks control. My hands won't lie softly in my lap any longer, for listeners and liars are close. All I wanted was to be a splinter under your skin, to be wrapped in your body and wait for you to heal over me. A couple of years ago, I read for Tin House, and I was reading with Doug Powell, who was here a second ago. He sadly had to leave. And I was asking what I should read, and he said, you should just read about sex. But I don't really have a lot of poems about sex, which I should fix. But I'm going to read the ones that I do have. This one's called venery. And venery, it's an old word, and it originally meant to hunt, but then it changed at some point in its history, and it meant to hunt for amorous affection, to go out. Okay. Venery. What happens after nothing happens? Wait for the lull with a tincture of belladonna, cuckoo, and keep. When did all the pretty girls go and get married? It's late, and I've misplaced. Cuss and think back on once upon the molt, new skin hiss like Prosecco, combing your hair with a comb from China. Echo and wait for turbines, the hum of apple blossom, the hollow belly of oyster. Koi and keep for cubby. What happens after everything is done happening? The ram killed by the pinprick and the pickpocket left holding the spoon. Trouble is nesting in my lungs. She's met the boys, kissed around, cut, and wait for coquetry. What do when all done? Done. Let's speak of open work. Let's get off your gloves, forget to fret our enemies, lie down, and let's send up a cloud. My watch didn't have any numbers on it, so it's totally useless. So if I'm going way too long, just like, you're not keeping track of it. If I'm starting to bore you, just or just start walking out, you can do that too. I think Justin might be mad at me. Okay, that's good. I like that. But again, I don't really understand my system, so yeah, I'm gonna read that one. So instead of reading about sex, because I don't have that many poems about sex, I was thinking about what other people might be thinking about at this time of year. And when not thinking about sex, I think most of you are probably thinking about politics. So I thought I would read a few that have to do with that. And they kind of weirdly also have to do with sex. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. It's gross. It's called This Time in Wartime. Of all the mixed up boys I've been, all the names I've taken in this world that has to happen, I don't know the name of this new thing. This thing I've let settle down throughout me, which spreads itself enormously, like unfurling skeins of creosote, and becomes me. Far off, the artillery flashes, and I miss the boys I've been, kissing at the girls with long legs, and stupidly unafraid of the darkening tides, surrounding and then within. So just a couple more. This one, I guess you could call it my Katrina poem. It's untitled. We have seen the bodies, and our napes itch equally. We make the apologies if apologies are due, ignore the men dictating what a proper response may be. When the wicked water drew up over their toes, surprisingly warm, who worried what they thought? We wonder for them. Taste the penny of panic, pile our bodies under their feet to hold their heads above for 1 minute more, since the last thing we want is to want them back. And then, I think this will be my last. And this is the creepy mishmash of sex and poem. It's called The Work of Giants. It kind of owes something to Guillaume Apollinaire, who has this great line in this poem, I think called The Red Car, where it was during World War II, and he said, the giants stand up all over Europe. So it's kind of off that idea. The work of giants. The world is furious, and I'm so tired of being furious with it. The bullets are in me, the tanks are in me, the fetid water and the gas canisters are in me, and I can't see the dead anymore because they're in me. But all I want to feel is your mouth on my mouth. I try to read newspapers to find the rapes or watch television to wait for the coffins, because rapes and coffins are the work of giants, and I don't want to take my eyes off the giants, but I'm ashamed because all I want is your skin against my skin. I'm too tired for my anger. My fists don't clench like they used to. My teeth have stopped grating, and the rapes and coffins and children and tanks and car bombs and bullets are in me, and with all I have left to feel, all I want to feel is your hips against my hips. Thank you.